is Way 31 News at 10.
Mild evening underway here across the Tennessee Valley, but I am tracking some colder weather that will start moving in as we kick into the new year. I'll have the latest details in your forecast.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely, devastating and heartbreaking at first, because you think, well, there's no way to fix this. There's no way to salvage it, and you do wonder, what do we do next? But ultimately, our team, real quick, had the resolve and the mindset to know we're going to be committed to restarting and rebuilding and continuing to serve customers however we can.
Tonight, people in the Athens community are responding to tornado damage to businesses, working hand in hand, trying to carry on as they try to rebuild. Good evening to you. We're glad you're with us for Way 31 News at 10. I'm Nicole Williams. Tonight, Limestone County is planning next steps after seeing significant damage from an EF1 tornado. Thankfully, the weather today has allowed them to make some progress cleaning up. We'll hear from some of those affected in just a few moments. But first, let's go ahead and check in with Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle. Jeff, the new year is bringing a new cold front to North Alabama, huh?
That is going to be our story heading into the first few days of the new year, Nicole. Tracking some colder air. Heading into January, though, so this is kind of expected, right? By Thursday morning, low temperatures getting back down into the 20s. And this is just going to be the first of probably several surges of colder air, which is going to take us through the first couple of weeks of the new year. And I'll have details on a chilly forecast ahead, to say the least, coming up in just a few minutes. By comparison, though, hey, it's pretty mild out there this evening. Yes, it's cool enough for a jacket, but considering that we're talking 20s a little bit later on this week, well, those 50-degree temperatures actually don't feel too bad. It is a little bit chillier. Scottsboro to Fort Payne to Gadsden, mid to upper 40s here, but Huntsville's at 56, kind of where we've been hanging out this evening. 53 in Moulton, almost at that 60-degree mark in Muscle Shoals, and I'm really not expecting these temperatures to fall much more from where they are right now through tomorrow morning. In some cases, they may even go up a degree or two. All quiet on Way 31 triple Doppler. We do have some cloud cover moving on in, but the only thing I'm expecting out of that overnight tonight, maybe a sprinkle, and that's probably being fairly optimistic. This is the view outside right now in Huntsville with our Thompson Roofing and Construction Skycam, looking from Calhoun to the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, and pretty quiet conditions there on 565 for the time being. We will wake up to some clouds in the morning, but then expect a little bit of sunshine to break through before more clouds return tomorrow afternoon. There you see the temperatures out the door in the morning, about where they are right now, middle to upper 50s. It is going to be a breezy last day of the year. That west wind eventually starts to bring in some colder air later tomorrow afternoon. I'll be back in a few moments. We're going to track that out for you, show you what to expect as we ring in 2025 coming up in your forecast.
All right, Jeff, thank you. The Alabama Veterans Museum and Park in Athens is one of the groups working to rebuild after that EF1 tornado hit downtown Athens. The president of their board of directors tells us that they've spent over 25 years building that museum into what it was. The Veterans Memorial Park portion was hit the hardest, the fencing completely removed. The helicopter that once sat on display ended up in a nearby neighbor's driveway. The park just held its ribbon cutting a few months ago.
And it's just heartbreaking, it really was. But we're going to bounce back. It's going to be a little while, but the citizens of this state, of this county, and the Tennessee Valley will rally behind us, and we're going to come back better and stronger. So everything's going to be all right. Nobody lost their life, no injuries, and material things can be replaced.
Absolutely. Crabtree says perhaps the greatest blessing is that for the most part, the irreplaceable artifacts in the museum went undamaged. Tonight, workers of one Athens bookstore are still feeling like winners despite losing most of their building to the wrath of this tornado. CEI Bookstore and Truth Publication sells Christian faith-based materials, and what they say feels like a miracle. None of those hymnals were destroyed. Their operations manager says hymnals are the most costly and difficult to print. Their focus today was on moving those hymnals and other undamaged materials out of the way before more rain moves in.
You've been through things like this. I think to some degree we went through it with the pandemic and having to close our doors to the public to a large degree and kind of reinvent ways to do business. And this will be another adventure like this, and we'll embrace it and just move ahead.
On our website right now, you can find a link to Truth Publications, to their website. Taylor says they will continue to post updates there. You can also find a link to donate. Truth Books is a nonprofit, so donations are tax deductible. Their board of directors has decided not to take donations from churches or religious organizations, but members of those groups can make individual donations. If you are looking for ways to help out this community, Athens Main Street launched a cleanup and storm damage fund. Every dollar donated will go directly toward repairing anything damaged by Saturday's storm. You can find that link on our website, waytv.com. The loved ones of a missing Huntsville realtor are raising the reward total for information that helps them find him. We spoke to the family spokesperson for Ronnie DeMoss. Ronnie DeMoss was last seen on December 15th on Interstate 40 near Waverly, Tennessee. His family held a search party in Tennessee yesterday, which their spokesperson says did not yield anything particularly significant. Tonight, they're increasing the reward money by $1,000 to $3,500. If you know anything about where Ronnie DeMoss is, please contact HPD. Right now, police are trying to get to the bottom of multiple shootings in North Alabama tonight. Huntsville police are combing through evidence from a shooting near Brookside Drive. They say it happened around 12:30 this afternoon. Police say the victim came to the hospital after the shooting. This as they rushed to the scene of that shooting. They believe this is an isolated incident. The victim is stable tonight. The second crime unfolded when shots rang out in Decatur. It happened at a house around 3 o'clock in the morning on First Avenue there in Decatur. Police say everyone is okay. They believe the shooter drives a white SUV. If you have any information about this, contact Decatur Police. Tonight, a local man is remembering one of the biggest moments of his life when he got the chance to see former President Jimmy Carter speak in Tuscumbia back in 1980. It was one of Carter's few known visits to Alabama. The Carter campaign was running for re-election, and that second campaign kicked off in the Shoals at the 1980 Labor Day rally. Tim Heflin, whose father was an Alabama senator, got a special look.
So I think the entire community was in many ways united. May not have all voted for him, but they were united in having the privilege and the pleasure of hosting the President of the United States in the small town of Tuscumbia.
The Carter campaign estimated that about 7,000 people attended. Federal employees, including those on Redstone Arsenal, will get a day off of work in remembrance of the life and legacy of former President Jimmy Carter. ABC's Jacqueline Lee tells us more about Carter's life and legacy and how President Biden plans to honor him during his last days in office.
The world is mourning the death of former President Jimmy Carter. From flags at half-staff to state houses and seats of government across the world, even on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, millions are pausing to remember him.
He was an honest man. I think his legacy will be his honesty, his faith, and in politics, that's kind of rare today.
The former president died Sunday afternoon, surrounded by his family in his hometown of Plains, Georgia.
I think that Plains impacted every facet of his life. I was talking to somebody this morning, and the thing about it is he always came home. He always came home.
The former president was a Georgia peanut farmer, becoming Georgia's governor by 1970 and then president by January 1977.
I, Jimmy Carter, do solemnly swear that
Carter's legacy is tied to his diplomatic record, and while critics say his presidency wasn't the greatest, after the White House, he built homes for the poor, with the Carter Center bringing fair elections and an end to diseases in places around the world.
He's my favorite president. Favorite president, for sure.
His beloved wife, Rosalind, died last November. The two married for 77 years. He will be buried alongside her, with the public viewings available in Atlanta, Washington, D.C., and a state funeral next week in the nation's capital. Jacqueline Lee, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Tonight, the Alabama NAACP is remembering the life of former President Carter. They released a statement a few hours ago. It reads in part, quote, Let us also honor President Carter for his diligence and continued service to promote peace and democracy, even after leaving office. Some people are on edge after the murder of United Healthcare CEO as they get ready to celebrate New Year's Eve in the Big Apple. What officers are doing to beef up security in Times Square before the ball drops.
And heading into January with the colder air on the way, first shot if it arrives for the start of the new year. More on the way, especially later next week. Definitely looking like it could be the coldest of the winter thus far. I'll have details coming up in your forecast after the break.
Coverage you can count on. This is Way 31 News at 10 with Nikel Williams, Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle, and sports with Max Cohen.
Right now, across the nation, law enforcement is ramping up security ahead of New Year's celebrations. New York City is home to one of the world's largest. Police there are on high alert after the recent murder of United Healthcare CEO. Lee Waldman is in New York with the details.
An estimated 1 million people will pack into Times Square Tuesday evening to mark the end of 2024 and ring in the new year.
3, 2, 1, Happy New Year!
Organizers of New York's big celebration held a test run of the confetti drop on Sunday. Monday, city leaders laid out extensive safety plans for the event.
We have plainclothes teams, K-9 teams, and officers on horsebacks in helicopters and on boats.
Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch says the department is ready to respond to any major threats or smaller scale crimes.
We have been operating in a heightened threat environment since October 7th, and we remain vigilant. Additionally, since everyone will be in tight quarters, we'll have dedicated pickpocket teams patrolling through Times Square.
Mayor Eric Adams says security is everyone's responsibility.
So if you see something, say something, but most importantly, do something, notify any uniformed personnel.
Spectators should expect to be screened by our counterterrorism officers at these access points. And once you enter a viewing area, there will be no re-entry.
Items that could present a challenge for authorities like backpacks, coolers, chairs, alcohol, and umbrellas are not allowed in viewing areas. Rain is expected in New York throughout Tuesday night. In New York, with coverage you can count on, Lee Waldman, Waay 31 News.
A quick programming note for you right now. Tomorrow night, Waay 31 News at 10 will air an hour early at 9 p.m. After that, you can ring in the new year by watching New Year's Rockin' Eve with Ryan Seacrest right here on Waay 31.
Now, Waay 31 Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle with 31 Triple Doppler.
Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle joins me now. Jeff, you are tracking some colder temperatures coming our way now.
Yeah, we're going to get one shot that's going to come in to the start of the new year, another shot that'll come in later this week, and more cold air coming next week. Could be the coldest we've seen so far this season.
Okay.
Yeah, but
right.
It's January, which is also, on average, the coldest month out of the year. So not a big shock, but this could be some significant cold air that we're tracking. Let's get right into it. Mostly a temperature forecast for us for the next few days. We're not going to be tracking any big weather systems coming on in that are going to bring rain or stormy weather, nothing like that. 53 is average. We'll still be running near, if not above that number, tomorrow. However, the high temperature of 56, we probably see that in the morning. We'll start to bring in the chillier air through the afternoon hours tomorrow. First day of the new year, 46 on Wednesday, and for the most part in the 40s. Maybe a brief jump back to around 50 before we pick up again another shot at some cooler air coming in for the coming weekend. What we are watching, though, beyond that, and what we often watch this time of year, the Arctic air building in Alaska and northwest Canada. These are current temperatures up there. Old Crow, Canada, 42 degrees below zero. Not the wind chill, that is the temperature. And you can see 20 below readings extend all the way down into parts of north central Canada. So at some point, this chunk of cold air here near the Arctic Circle and even back across the pole into Siberia is going to be making a surge off to the south. Now, when that happens, how far it penetrates in the eastern U.S., that is the question at this point. But we are kind of keying in on middle to latter part of next week that this is going to happen. This is the latest temperature outlook heading through that second week in the month of January. And again, very, very strong signals that it is going to be colder than average. The question is just how cold is it going to get around here? And the other million-dollar question is, once this pattern sets up, is there going to be anything coming along to produce some wintry precip? So a lot we're going to be watching for you. Nothing definite that we're tracking in terms of that at this point. But obviously, when we have a good feeling about it, you'll be the first to know. All right, let's talk New Year's Eve, though. Short term, heading into 2025. A lot of you have plans tomorrow, hopefully safely, ringing in the new year. But again, it's always a celebratory time when we close out one year and head into the next. Some cloud cover tomorrow evening. We will begin to feel that chill, so temperatures not as mild as they are this evening. We'll be talking mainly 40s. Midnight tomorrow night, about 43 degrees as 2025 makes its arrival. We do remain quiet for the time being as well. Waay 31 Triple Doppler. There's nothing out there. Some clouds are coming in, and we might squeeze out a sprinkle out of some of those overnight tonight, but that'll be it. Tomorrow morning, briefly see those move out, but then as we track in our next push of chilly air, some cloud cover moves in with that, but unlikely that we'll pick up any sort of precip. We wake up on Wednesday morning, a few clouds early on January the 1st, and then close out the day with some sunshine. These are your highs, your lows tonight, in the low to mid 50s, but these will actually be pretty close to our highs tomorrow as well. Notice we're in the mid 50s in the morning. By 4 in the afternoon, though, back into the 40s with just a slim chance for a sprinkle in the next 12 to 24 hours. Highs tomorrow again, making their way back into the mid to upper 50s, but that will be early in the day. 46 on Wednesday. 48 Thursday. Will start that day in the mid-20s. We head into the weekend. Saturday looks dry, but our next best chance for a little active weather coming in on Sunday, perhaps lingering into Monday. That could be a cold rain the way it looks right now. And then we're eyeing later next week for that big shot of very cold air pushing its way into North Alabama.
A North Alabama woman tonight sharing her courageous story of perseverance. This after a battle with cancer resulted in her doing some big things. Waay 31 reporter Maddie McCaffrey has a story.
Rebecca Masden was diagnosed with terminal breast cancer and told she had 3 months left to live. This happened 3 years ago. She made arrangements for her death and checked off items on her bucket list. So imagine her surprise when she surpassed that 3-month mark. She went to the doctor and was given a miraculous all clear, which pushed her towards more goals in life, like writing children's books. Her book, called Sebastian Explores Baptism, she wants to inspire others to never give up.
As long as my suffering isn't meaningless, right, then I can do anything, you know, because if I'm using it for someone else, or I just make the choice to serve others through it, then I know the Lord has to bring something beautiful out of it.
Rebecca is still fighting cancer today, but that hasn't stopped her from donating copies of her book to ICUs across the country to offer comfort and joy to families during their most difficult times.
My goal and my hope for the reader is that they find themselves and they see themselves through Sebastian, right?
You can get your very own copy of Rebecca's book and learn more about her story on our website, waydtv.com. Reporting with coverage you can count on, Maddie McCaffrey, Way 31 News.
The Auburn Tigers put a cap on non-conference play in style. We'll take you down to Neville Arena for the high-flying action. Next in sports.
Now, Way 31 Sports with Max Cohan.
There's no denying how good the Auburn Tigers have been this season. Bruce Pearl's squad is number 2 in the AP poll, behind only Tennessee. But before the Tigers can get to SEC play, they had one last game to play against Monmouth tonight. And believe it or not, Auburn was down early. Former UAH Charger Chaney Johnson on the wing, sending a laser over to Chad Baker-Mazara, and that triple makes it a 2-point game. But the Tigers would stay on the attack. Tahad Pettiford to Newmarket's own Denver Jones, and he's got the 3 falling. Jones would start the night 3 for 3 from 3, and even in a close game, you gotta love the alley-oop. Pettiford to Dylan Cardwell, and Auburn takes a 4-point lead. But Pettiford wasn't done dishing them out. This one over to CBM, and he'll pull up from the wing. He gets the hoop and the harm, pulling off the rare 4-point play as Auburn pulls away. One name you haven't heard yet, Janai Broom, but the big man still had a big night. In fact, he finished with a 14-point, 11-board double-double, but he wasn't the only one. Cardwell recorded the first double-double of his career with 12 and 11. Now, remember how CBM had that 4-point play earlier? Well, he actually had 2 of them tonight, finishing with 13 points. And of course, we got to save the best for last. Pettiford with the steal off the inbound, and then he's going to toss up a perfect lob to Ja'Kai Howard for an insane windmill slam, sending Neville Arena into a frenzy as the Tigers close out non-conference play in style, 87-58.
So now we get ready to start, the toughest conference schedule in the history of college basketball. Like there's maybe never been a league like this. And it's going to want to be, the strong literally are going to be the only ones that are going to survive. Hungry, healthy, humble is the way to get through it. Matchups are going to matter. We're going to lose games, but we can't let a loss affect us the next time out. But we're healthy, and we're ready.
And the Tigers will get the gauntlet started this weekend, hosting Mizzou on the Plains at 3 p.m. Over at Spraggins Hall, the Chargers women's basketball team looked to do something they hadn't done since the 2019-20 season, win 10 games. And with a win tonight, they could hit the mark just 12 games into the season. Alan Sharp's squad welcoming LaGrange to Kelly Court for their final non-conference game, and Ivy Maddox was the star for the Chargers tonight. The freshman had it working from everywhere, making it look easy in the paint and behind the arc. The Coleman native put up 17 points, but she was just one of 5 Chargers to reach double figures tonight. UAH outscored LaGrange in all 4 quarters on their way to a massive 91-54 win to close out 2024. The Chargers will head to conference play in a 10-2 record, and they will hit up Union on Thursday. And of course, last but not least, in about 12 hours, the Crimson Tide will play for the final time in 2024. Kalen DeBoer's first season as Alabama's head coach may not have gone exactly like fans hoped, but the team still has a chance to take down the defending national champs and win their 10th game of the season for the 17th year in a row, something the coach knows is on the minds of many.
It's something that's really important to the guys. There's no question. They want to keep the streak alive there with 10-win seasons, and we always talk in terms of really trying to even simplify it down beyond that. And just the most important game is the next one, just like the next play is the most important one. And so, that's where we're focused. But there is a piece too with the tradition and just everything. You don't do it to put added pressure on yourself. You just make the game what it is, and this is an important game because it's the one that's in front of us. But our players, finding those motivational pieces, that is certainly one of them.
So like we said, that game coming up in about 12 hours, an 11 a.m. kick. So if someone wanted to head out and watch the game, maybe at a sports bar or a restaurant, weather be good for that or a little cold?
It'll be, we'll say, coolish.
Okay.
Not super cold yet. That is on the way, though. Heading into the new year, temperatures start to come down, and they'll really take a drop, it looks like, later on next week. Not a lot of active weather in the next few days. Next best chance for rain looks like it comes in towards the tail end of the coming weekend. Grace will be in tomorrow morning. She'll have the latest details on all of that as we head into the new year coming up in your forecast.
You can catch Chris Martin